Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jimmy here with JPAR Carolina Living Real Estate, licensed in North and South Carolina in the Charlotte area. I hope you're doing well today. It is Saturday, January 21st. I posted this a couple days ago, this blog, The Journey to Buying a Home. Here are the key milestones that you'll encounter on your path to home ownership. So, buying a house, there's a lot of steps involved. And I came across this graphic that I thought was really helpful. So I actually wanted to show it through to you and walk through it with you real quick. So the first step is to build your team. Kickstart the process by finding trusted experts to guide you along the way. There's two important people that you're going to need to have on your team right out of the gate. The first is going to be your trusted realtor. That's the person who's going to know the area, know the inventory, know the price points, know the trends going on with real estate, know what homes are available in the areas that you're looking in. And they're going to know about the different communities and be able to tell you about the different communities and some of the pros and cons of living in different areas, different neighborhoods, so on and so forth. The second person is a lender. So unless you are a cash buyer, then you're going to need to finance your purchase. And in order to finance your purchase, you're going to have a lender. Now, why do you need a lender at the beginning of the process and not just when it's time to close? Well, you need to get pre-approved for a loan. So before you can ever even think about writing an offer, you need to have a pre-approval letter in hand. And before you go to see homes, you also need to have that pre-approval completed too, because you need to know what price range you're, one, approved for, and then two, what you can comfortably afford. And that price point might be different today than it was. It's certainly different today than it was a year ago because interest rates went from 3% in January of 2022 to about 6% in January of 2023. They were over 7% back in early November. So we're hoping that we're seeing a downward trend and we'll get back into the fives. But based on the interest rate, that's going to help determine what you can actually afford. Step number two, check your score. Find out your credit score and work to improve it by cutting down debt and spending. Now, this is where I think having that lender the trusted lender, someone who can actually, when they get you pre-approved, they're going to check your credit score, and they can actually, a good lender should be able to give you advice on how to improve your score as well. So it's not always paying off the biggest debt. It's not always, it's certainly not canceling credit cards and things like that. So before you start cutting credit that you've established for 5 years, before you start applying money to the wrong debts, talk to someone who can really guide you on that. Number three, boost your savings. Talk to a professional about down payment options and set a goal and budget accordingly. Again, with your lender, they're going to be able to help tell you, what your different options are with different payment amounts. So if you're putting down, let's say you're putting down a 20% down payment, well, you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance. However, there are some products where you can put down a smaller down payment and still not have to pay private mortgage insurance. If you qualify for a VA loan, you might not have to put down any down payment at all. Or if you qualify for an FHA or first time home buyer's loan, you might be able to put down as low as 3 or 5%. So just know that the less you put down, the more your monthly payment is likely to be. But there are options with your down payment. Number four, know your numbers. So discover what you can afford based on mortgage rates, income, and more. Then get pre-approved by a trusted advisor. See here, this is where that stacks into or is included in those previous two steps that we talked about. So I think as soon as you talk to a lender, I think the lender is right there at the very beginning. Going back to talking about your teams, because in a minute we're going to get into the next steps. Well, wait a second, because I'm going to talk more about building your team beyond just your lender and your realtor. Step number 5 is to go house hunting. So explore neighborhoods, home types, and determine your must-haves with your agent. So once you've been pre-approved, once you know what you can afford, once you have an idea of the areas that you're interested in, and we know what you're looking for in a house, now we can set your search criteria. We can go looking at homes. People always talk about going house hunting. A lot of the hunting is actually done online. It's done through setting that criteria and finding the homes that are available. And then we go out to see the homes. When we go out to see the homes, we go out looking with the intention of finding the one that's going to be the right home, that's going to be the best fit for us and for our families, and then making that decision. Speaking of making a decision, the next step is to make an offer. Meet with your agent to draft your offer and negotiate with the seller. So typically what will happen is we go out and see 4 or 5 houses. There'll be 1 or 2 that really stand out, and then there's one that's like, yeah, I think this is the house. We need to make an offer on this home. So a lot of it depends on when it comes to making your offer. A lot's going to depend on some different factors. How long has that house been on the market? How much interest and activity is there on that house? Are we in a multiple offer situation, which was very, very common in 2021 and 2022? Probably won't be quite as common in 2023, I don't think. At least currently, when I'm filming this in January of 2023, with most homes, there's an opportunity to be able to negotiate with the seller. Which, when there's a multiple offer situation, you're usually putting forth your highest and best offer and letting the seller pick which one they want to work with. When you're not in that situation, then you're going to be able to have a little bit more room with negotiation lots of times. So, and that's where the trusted realtor, the experienced realtor who can analyze the market and give you advice on, what to offer for the home, is going to come in handy in helping you win a home and not overpay for it. Step number 7, get an inspection and an appraisal. So as soon as your house is under contract, we're going to have a signed offer. We're going to send that contract to a few different people. 1, we're going to send it to your lender. Your lender is going to order the appraisal. Number 2, we're going to send it to a closing attorney. That's another part of the team as well. And in most cases, as a buyer's agent, I'll select or help the buyers select the closing attorney that we use. In North and South Carolina, we use closing attorneys, whereas in other states, they use escrow agents or title companies to perform the closing. So North and South Carolina are a little bit different in that we use closing attorneys, and the closing attorney actually will order the title search. So we want to get those things done. And then also we want to get an inspection order right away. So we'll get, as a buyer, I've got inspectors that I work closely with, that I'm comfortable with and familiar with their processes, and that I trust to do a great job for my clients. So I usually recommend 1 or 2 inspectors, and the buyer, if they have an inspector they want to use, they're certainly welcome to use that as well. But the key is they have to be a licensed inspector. So you can't have your Uncle George, who is a handyman or general contractor. Now, they can certainly go in the house and look at things and point things out. But as far as your actual inspection, you have to have a licensed inspector. And the inspection is what you'll use for a couple of things. One, it's basically a report on your house. It's your house's guidebook, right? So in addition to finding things wrong with it, it explains all your systems. It tells you all about the different features of your home. So typically an inspection report is anywhere from 80 to about 120 pages long. As far as the section that identifies things that are quote unquote wrong with the house, that could be usually anywhere between maybe 10 to 15 pages. And an inspector is going to point out every little thing. Now, one thing that I recommend when it comes to negotiating on repairs is, if there are some major issues, some big things that are really important to you, point those things out. When it comes to smaller things, smaller fixes, it could be something you could ask the seller to do, or it could also be something you can ask for credit for. Or if there's some big things and some little things, my advice is always to ask for the bigger things, and then know that you can probably take care of some of the smaller things pretty inexpensively after the fact. But if you're going to win a battle, you're going to want to have the seller pay for those bigger, more expensive fixes as opposed to the smaller things. Number 8, make it official. So on closing day, sign the final documentation and get the keys to your home. This is the exciting day here. So, basically you'll as a buyer, especially if you have a loan, warm up those fingers, warm up that wrist. You're going to be signing a lot of documents. It's going to take a little while. Budget anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour for your closing. And then once it's done, it's official and you'll be a new homeowner, especially once it records. Interesting fact, in South Carolina, as long as the funds have arrived to the closing attorney's office and you sign the paperwork, you can get the keys and the house, all the funds dispersed and everything else before it even records. Whereas in North Carolina, technically those things aren't supposed to disperse until after it records, which is usually a few hours after you sign all the paperwork. I always try to have closings in the morning because if I close in the morning, especially in North Carolina, I know that they should be able to get the paperwork into the county, and the county should be able to get it and record it within a couple of hours. And usually if we have a 9 or 10 o'clock closing, then by lunchtime, the house is recorded and my clients are the official homeowners. If we close at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and then it's submitted, well, it probably won't record to the next day. So the worst is when you close at 4:30 on a Friday or 5 o'clock on a Friday in North Carolina. Chances are you're not actually going to be the official homeowner of that property until Monday. And then as the seller, are they going to want to give you the keys to move in when you don't even own the house yet and they still own it and the liability is still on them? So always be smart when you're planning your closing day. Try not to close. I try not to close on Mondays or Fridays or the day before holidays, just because I like to have a buffer in there. And then if I can close in the morning, that's always preferred as well. Finally, move into your new home. Send in the movers because now it's time to make your dream a reality on move-in day. You're going to want to get good, experienced movers as well. I have movers who I can recommend. I've got a few on my list who I trust and my clients have used multiple times and have always given good reviews and opinions on. There's also movers that I've seen that my clients didn't necessarily take my advice and they went and picked somebody and they had a bad experience. Maybe they saved a few bucks, but some things got broken or it just wasn't a good experience in the move. So you want to get, that's part of your team as well is who are you using as your mover? Depending on your age, your fitness, level of fitness, the age of your friends, you may be someone who says, oh, I'm going to move everything in on my own. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you might not have a whole lot of stuff. So you might be able to make that move on your own. Myself, I'm 44 years old. I'm pretty fit. I'm in pretty good shape. I exercise and work out several times a week. But when it comes to moving, I know if I don't move, and I try not to help my friends and family move as well. I'll help with some unpacking, but when it comes to moving the big furniture, I know if I do that, my back and my arms, everything's gonna be sore for a few days. So try to make it a good experience and hire a professional to help you with the move as well. I hope these 9 tips were helpful for you as far as the journey to buy a home. If you have any questions or if you're thinking about buying a home, please reach out to me. I'd love to be a resource for you to help you build your team. And if you're here in the Charlotte area, I'd love to be part of your team as well. So you can contact me directly at 704-313-8514, or you can email me at JimmyGrapponeRealtor@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.